All right, this is our last program, but we're actually gonna start a new program here. So we're gonna make sure that this is saved. So you hit save. If you haven't, make sure it's saved. Make sure it runs correctly. Um, and we're gonna go new trinket Python. We're gonna call this one, I'll call this one seventh class video 3. Okay, we'll just save that to get going. So the thing I want to show you now is conditionals. If we go to the Git book, I haven't added the video because I'm making it right now, but I want to take a look at conditional. Conditionals let us check for when something happens or if something is true. So mostly this is going to be an if statement. So it could also be a while statement, but we'll talk about an if statement first. So what we're going to look at is if something is true. So let's say we have a number. Let's say our number variable, just make a number variable here. We're saying number is equal to 50. Okay? And we'll say if and have a parentheses. And then we have kind of a statement here. So we can say if the number is greater than 50, or sorry, yeah, let's say if the number is greater than 25, okay, then we want to do something. And the way we do this in Python is we put a colon and hit enter. And you can see the next line is sort of tabbed out, and we get this little arrow hanging out here. So we know that something is different, something's going on. We've started a condition. So the condition is if number is greater than 25. It is, it's 50. So if it's greater than 25, then we want to do something. So this, we'll just print something. Print, that's a big number. Okay. So if I run this, it says that's a big number. If I make this 10 instead of 50 and I run it again, it doesn't do anything because it says if 10 is equal to, or if 10 is greater than 25, it's not, it's less than 25. Do this. And it only does this if it's true. If the number is greater than 25, it's not. And so it skips it. This arrow will fold that in and out, right? So that we can tell that this is, even though there are multiple lines, these are all part of the same thought. Up to this point, all of our thoughts have been one-line thoughts. But now we can have multiple thoughts. We could say print I can't believe how I spell it right. I don't have to, but it'll work without. But for my own personal, I want to spell it right. I can't believe how high that number is. All right. That's a big number. I can't believe how high that number is. If I run, nothing happens because 10 is still less than 25. If I make this 100 and run it again, it says that's a big number. I can't believe how high that number is. So it's doing actually both of these things because they're tabbed in. If I hit enter here and come back, delete that tab, so now it's not tabbed in anymore, I can print something else. I can say, this is the end of the program. So if I run this, it's going to say, that's a big number. It is 100. I can't believe how high that number is. This is the end of the program, right? If I bring it back to 10, 10's not greater than 25, and I run it, it's just going to tell me it's the end of the program. So the if statement will do anything that's tabbed over. The other thing we can do with an if statement is we can say in other cases. So we can say, let's say if the number is greater than 100, we want to do this. And if we could say else, we want to do something else. So else is in any other case, we want to do something different. So we could say else, and just like before, we need a colon at the end of that else, and it'll tab over. We can say that's a small number. Except I want to print that, so I need to actually put it in a print function with parentheses, so print. So if I run this, it'll say that's a small number, so it skips this part because the number is greater than 100. I mean, number is less than 100, not greater than 100. So it says, it doesn't say that's a big number, it ignores it. But the else will say, okay, if this is not true, if this is false, then we're going to do this next bit here, right? And if I put this to 101 and run it again, that's a big number. I can't believe how high that number is. And it skips, that's a small number, right? Because it only does this bottom part if this top part is not true. We can actually have multiple if statements as part of this. So instead of just having one if, we can also have something called, basically it's else if, which we shorten in Python to elif. So else if, and then it's looking for another conditional. So we'll say if the number is less than, let's say the number is less than 10, we want to say that's a small number, right? And then we might want one more else, right? And this is in all other cases, colon, print, that's pretty average. Okay, so if I have 101 and I run it, it says that's a big number. I can't believe how high that number is. This is the end of the program. So it does this first thing. This becomes true. This part becomes true. And so it skips all of these things. If I make this 9 and I run it, it's going to say this is a small number because it checks this. It says, well, that's not true. Number's not greater than 100. Number's 9. That's less than 100. Then it checks the next thing. If it's less than 10, it is. It's less than 10, right? So it does this part. That's a small number. And because it did that, it skips every other part. So if there could be more else ifs. There could be lots of different else ifs. And then we could have an else that's pretty average. So if I put 50 here and run it, it skips this because 50 is less than 100, not greater than 100. It skips this because 50 is greater than 10. And so it has to do this last part that's pretty average. And then at the end of the program, we're printing this is the end of the program. So it'll do this whole statement. It'll resolve it as much as it can. And then it will give you a result. I would like you to adapt this program by getting user input to the number first and have it, you can leave this whole if, else statement here, but have the user give you a number. Have it prompt the user, please give me a number. You can type in a number and then it compares it to this if statement. And after you do that, save it, share it, turn it in to me.